Metaphor ReFantazio's demo was something that absolutely blew my mind and made me really hyped for this game to come out. But it wasn't always like that. In fact, Metaphor actually concerned me if this game would even be worth my time at all. And this was mainly due to two big circumstances. Number one, I don't really like medieval things. I quite struggle to get invested into them. I get lost in their lore, not in the good way, and overall find it extremely hard for me to immerse myself into the character's world. And I have a personal known track record to never complete anything that has that tendency. And number two, I just think the medieval era is just quite boring. Putting me back in an era where there's not really that much technology, in fact, a lot of plagues, diseases, and a whole bunch of raw executions. Okay, maybe that part's a little interesting though. There's only partial bits of it that interest me, but it would never contain me for the full experience. So you can imagine how I must feel when, after I spent 7 hours with this demo completing the prologue, to say, I've never had an issue immersing myself within this game's world.
My name is Leon Stroll de Haliatus. My home and my family were taken from me. I am the last of my house. I am the last of my noble bloodline. And in the name of my people, I will strike you down where you stand!
Problems that I had with the game were very promptly addressed, one of them being they actually have interesting story plot, and also a memorandum, basically an in-game encyclopedia that you can open up at any time to refresh your knowledge on the things that they brought up, areas in the game, characters, races. That told me that I was never going to get lost no matter how much I try. My knowledge for this game will be foolproof. But it doesn't matter what I'm really talking about because you probably don't even know what Metaphor, ReFantazio, whatever is in the first place. So allow me to explain you what Metaphor is. A metaphor is a figure of speech that basically draws comparisons through two unlike. Metaphor ReFantazio is a game that's been developed by the people that you probably know and love the most if you're searching this up in the first place, ATLUS. And if you don't know who they are, well, algorithm things, I guess. ATLUS is very known for creating the games Persona 3, 4, and 5, and if anyone tells you there's a Persona 1 and 2, anyways, take a look at the shiny new Persona 5! Metaphor is a turn-based JRPG that takes place in a medieval era with a focus on magic, politics, and discrimination. Did I catch your attention? Because if I did, you should probably be concerned. In a stark comparison to ATLUS's other JRPGs that focus on your ascension to godhood or just learning more about the self, this game focuses on a lot of things that deals with politics and leadership. And single-handedly, this has to be one of the most interesting JRPG games that I have played. And I'm saying played, as in not I played the entire game. The game's not even out yet. So you already know if I'm talking about the demo, this game is probably gonna deliver me something great when it actually comes out. And I don't mean the glazed here. I really don't wanna do that, but every single time I sit down and talk about this game, it makes me feel like I think that ATLUS can do no wrong. And like, I could be right, I don't know. Metaphor ReFantazio takes a lot more serious approach in comparison to their other games because, you know, if ATLUS basically has to put up a warning screen saying that they don't condone discrimination or violence towards real-life governments or, you know, religious organizations, you can probably assume that ATLUS is delving into some places and, oh, let them cook. Let them cook. If this game doesn't start a political arc for me, then I don't know what I'm doing. By the time I finish this game, I'm probably gonna be running for president. You're gonna see me in the office. But on a real note, let me explain to you what actually really did capture my attention in this game.
A land grotesque as its people. You dreamt of utopia. You saw the tribes united as one. Oh. That dream died long ago. You should have done the same. Your kingdom will perish alongside you.
This game is extremely dark, and immediately it caught my attention because ATLUS has previously shown deaths in the background, but I've never seen it in a way like this. And the second thing I noticed it for was because they literally drew blood bubbles as he's gasping for air after he literally got stabbed. That just wrote me in so quickly. It was like, whoa, that's crazy. In the game, there's a hierarchy of tribes and where they serve inside of the political and societal sphere. At the top, you have the Clamars, who are mainly known for their physical characteristic of having horns. They make the majority of the civilization, and they are the most powerful. At the bottom, we have the Elda. An Elda is basically not even really considered to even be like a person. They're known as a threat by the church that they all go to, and essentially, they are actively hated against by literally anyone and everyone. And the kicker is, you play as the Elda. You can already see what type of storyline this game is going to follow. We're dealing with a Clamar who's trying to take the next heir and throne by assassinating the king in cold blood, and the Elda boy who just doesn't want to be discriminated against and create a world of peace. And honestly, if that alone doesn't pull you in, and basically watching an Elda boy who is hated by all and just becoming like the next Hokage of like basically becoming the next heir to the throne to basically create a society where there is no discrimination and everybody's treated equally. If you're in for a story like that, this game is gonna do that for you 1000%. And of course, there's a little bit more depth to all of that stuff and how you approach it, but I'll leave that up to the user experience and definitely like when the full game comes out, because let's get real, I can't glaze the game this hard when the game's not out like that. Yeah, that'd be too sad. But with all the dark subjects and topics that they're gonna tackle in the game and stuff like that, there's some more lighthearted stuff that they actually show inside of the game. This game has a direct focus on leadership, which is something that I didn't exactly get from any of ATLUS's other games. In Shin Megami Tensei, you're basically focused on your ascension to godhood. So you are a one-man team. Sure, you have your demons to support you to decide, but like, they're just fusion materials at the end of the day. And you'll get rid of them as soon as they become useless and no longer fit either the damage values that you need to be hitting, or they just have a chronic weakness that they're no longer viable anymore for you. And then inside of Persona, you have your teammates. But since the main protagonist is able to wield multiple personas, it can seem like the protagonist solos the entire game and doesn't really need the other party members to support him, but that's what this game changes. In this game, they create a more leadership-oriented game that ties back into the game's story. And they do this by declaring their heroic virtues before ripping out an iron heart, signifying their iron will or something like that, and summoning their archetypes. And it's some of the most symbolic, just how can you not like this game after that? Thematically, the game is just immaculate. I absolutely love the game's focus on a leadership role, and especially since they focus on that leadership role a lot inside the gameplay. Because of the archetype system, it makes everyone equally as important as another to complete the job. There's never a person's better than another person because every member gets to serve their role in combat. It has single-handedly been one of the most engaging gameplay that I've played in any JRPG, tops. And it's because they take several small features that layers on top of another to create an extremely in-depth gameplay system that is just rewarding to be able to use and facilitate each part of it correctly. The type of systems that they have is the break system, where you're basically able to fight the enemy on the overworld for a bit so that you can deplete their break gauge to get an advantage inside of your battles. This one actively has you fighting like it's an ARPG, but that is only one layer of the combat. Then you have the actual turn-based combat, where instead of working on the Persona 5's One More system, the turn-based combat follows Shin Megami Tensei's press turn system, where you can only really make the maximum of 8 turns. And once that gauge depletes, it becomes the enemy's turn, and it keeps doing that back and forth until the game is over. And while the press turn system has some other stuff with it, for example, when you hit an enemy's weakness, it halves a turn instead of taking the full turn. Or like when you miss a hit or an enemy absorbs a hit, you lose 2 turns. It creates a feeling that just makes you want to think carefully about everything that you do. but that's only another layer. Another layer is the archetype system, where basically it kind of works as like vocational classes that you can teach to any one of your teammates. Any teammate can learn any class's role as long as you have the proper resources to teach them it, and you can switch between each class after you learn it, which basically allows every member to be pretty viable and allows you to have different combinations of teams from a pretty big pool of possible archetypes to choose from. But that's only another layer. They also added a formation system, which is very prominent inside of Atlus's Etrian Odyssey, where you can put people in the front row, but they'll be more susceptible to damage, or you can put them in the back to avoid taking as much damage and just in general be a lot safer than in the front line seat. But it does have the caveat of if you use a melee attack in the back row, it won't do as much damage as in the front row, and etc. That adds in another layer. All of these things add a layer into the combat that makes it feel super rewarding when you use each mechanic to their fullest potential. There's probably even more elements to the combat that I'm probably forgetting, but the point that I'm trying to get across is, once again, it's layer after layer after layer that adds the depth. The things that the game teaches you will never become too complicated for you to understand, and you're taught when you absolutely know the things that you're doing. It's not all at the same time, but it's built up to in a very time-efficient manner so that they can probably experiment with the gameplay more as you go through the later stages of the game. Metaphor's gameplay is going to be incredibly rewarding, and I am absolutely ecstatic and waiting to fight harder enemies. Anyways, I think I'm probably stretching on and glazing this game for a little too long, so allow me to start summarizing my thoughts for how I feel towards the demo. At first, I did have my concerns towards Metaphor ReFantazio, and that was mainly due to the stark contrast in interest that I have within the medieval era and just general terms and lore that I probably wouldn't be able to keep up with. However, the demo has showed me that Atlus went out of their way to mitigate these risks to make it as easy and as fun and as engaging as possible. That is going to be pretty hard for anyone to not pay attention. And especially putting you in a world where discrimination and politics exist, it's really hard to not feel attachment towards this world when you're getting treated poorly by literally everyone that sees you. Overall, from the 7 hours that I put into this game, I can wholeheartedly say that I cannot wait for this game to come out so that I can finally see everything that Atlus was cooking within this game. I have extremely high hopes towards this game, and if you haven't tried out the demo for yourself, you should totally do it. It's free. It's like 7 hours long. It took me 7 hours. It probably won't take you 7 hours. I was just really thorough. I'm really thorough with my JRPGs. If you think that this game isn't for you, just like I did, look back, turn around, download that demo, play it, and I guarantee you, Atlus might just see another +1 in their sales. Anyways, that's gonna be all for me, guys. Thank you for listening to me ramble about Metaphor ReFantazio. This is kind of more of a newer way how I want to approach my content. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing. You're now leaving Psyker's World. See you on your next visit.
Yeah, Metaphor is so good. It's everything I could want. It's everything I could wish for.